I'm gonna draw your mom.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Yeah, I mean, obviously got to see if that's the payday, and I can't say too much because there's a bit of a legal process regarding that. But
How
the
so?
fight, it's well, obviously, when you get an opportunity to match, you have to make sure that was actually what you were asked to match. Do you know what I mean? So,
okay.
we shall see. It's going to be interesting to say the least, but I would have welcomed the move with open arms if there was no opportunity to get close to that. We actually matched one element of the deal, so we weren't far off at all. But they used the other element of the deal, the one fight option, to snooker us, and now again, that's where we'll see what happens. But
Eddie probably knew ahead of time that Conor Benn would be facing Regis Prograis in his next fight before all of us, and looking at that, he likely grew suspicious. This is likely why he didn't think Conor's deal was in fact a one-fight deal, as it was being reported. You're paying him $15 million just to fight that guy? And on Tyson Fury's undercard, is it a one-fight deal? Or is it a long-term deal? Because as he stated, if it were a long-term deal, they were willing to match that. Were they trying to hoodwink Matchroom? Pull a fast one. By convincing them, Conor accepted a one-fight deal for an estimated value of $15 million, hoping that Matchroom wouldn't match it, all the while negotiating something else. A long-term deal. And that is what these legal proceedings happening in the background would hope to uncover. What exactly did Conor Benn accept, and do Matchroom, based on that, still have matching rights? You announced it as a one-fight deal for Conor. Knowing that it's not, it's likely because you wanted to throw Matchroom off his trail. Because if it were just about one fight, well, Anthony Joshua had just one fight, off-platform, when he accepted the offer to fight Jake Paul. Matchroom did not stand in the way. So if it were just about one fight, why would Conor have to be so secretive, do things clandestinely? If it were just about getting $15 million to box Regis Prograis off-platform, I'm pretty sure Matchroom would have let him. If it were just about that, when it's so clearly not, $15 million for a Regis Prograis fight is an obscene amount of money, even by Turki El Sheikh's standards, which begs the question, is that really what they're paying him for? Or are they building him up for something else? Is this a long-term deal, and this is the first fight of that deal?
not the type of fight that I would have put Conor in, because I was looking for the big fights and I want him to become a world champion. And we had 2 fights there for him, or 3 fights, that would have given him the opportunity to be world champion. But he wasn't really interested in those because he just wanted the most amount of money, and I get that. But
Conor may yet get the chance to fight for an alphabet title under the Zuffa banner beyond the Regis Prograis fight, but of course that would indicate his engagement with them is a little more than just a one-fight deal. It's what these legal proceedings hope to uncover. They want to see it on paper. What did Conor Benn accept, and is it what you told us? Because if it's not, Matchroom may still have matching rights, and if what Conor Benn did was collude with Zuffa to violate those matching rights...
Oh, this could get ugly.
Really was a vulgar display of power, getting Conor Benn to migrate from Matchroom over to Zuffa the way that they did, behind Eddie Hearns' back. But now that we've had time to react to this, and had time for the dust to settle...
Look, Zuffa's getting off to a strong start. I'm not saying that they're not. Doing what they're doing is definitely a statement of intent. But what I'm looking for is longevity. What I'm looking for is what happens in the long term. Because all I see is Turki El Sheikh on Zuffa's behalf is overpaying Conor, is overpaying Fury.
I'm not complaining.
I'm not against it. If you're going to deliver me a card with both Tyson Fury and Conor Benn on Netflix at no additional charge, no pay-per-view, I'm on board. I'm all for it. But grand gestures like this one, we've seen them before. PBC got off to a strong start when they launched. DAZN, when they debuted in America. Boxer, when they debuted on Sky Sports. It wasn't even me that brought it up. It was actually a regular on the panel, Ray.
He was right.
What Zuffa's doing now, targeting Matchrooms as fighters, is not that dissimilar from what Boxer did when they debuted on Sky Sports. They targeted Lawrence Okoli and Joshua Buatsi, Natasha Jonas, Savannah Marshall.
They got them all to cross over.
Chris Billum-Smith whispering sweet nothings in their ear, making big promises about what'll happen if they come over to Sky. In the end, it worked. They got them to leave Matchroom and even had a few standout amateurs of their own. Unbeaten Fraser Clark, unbeaten Ben Whitaker, unbeaten Lauren Price, unbeaten Carolyn Dubois.
They got off to a strong start, like Zuffa's getting off to a strong start. But in the end, well, you see how Boxer ended up. I have this in mind, as there are reports circulating that Zuffa is very close to securing a rights deal on Sky Sports. Upstart fight firm Zuffa Boxing continues to make inroads both inside and outside of the ropes as it edges closer to a broadcast agreement with a significant international partner through prominent executives like Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, and Dana Veit. Zuffa has hosted 3 events to date. Small ones, Zuffa Boxing 1-3 from its Las Vegas headquarters at the Meta Apex, featuring names like Callum Walsh, Jose Valenzuela, and F.A. Ajagba. Boxing Social reported this week also how after Zuffa Boxing 04, Jai Opataya versus Brendan Glenton on March 8th, the company is set to promote the heavyweight bout between the returning giant Tyson Fury and Russian boxer Arslanbek Makhmudov. And we also reported Thursday that Zuffa will box Conor Benn on Fury's show April 11th as the co-main event for a 150-pound catchweight fight against the veteran fighter Regis Pregarious, as Zuffa fortifies its presence in the UK through the Fury vs. Makhmudov event and the stunning signing of Benn on an apparent one-fight deal worth $15 million, supposedly. It is no surprise to learn it is pursuing a British broadcast partner, especially as the length of Benn's agreement appears ambiguous. His former promoter Eddie Hearn appeared to hint that it could be longer when asked if he expected the slugger to return to Matchroom after one fight,
like Anthony Joshua did after he boxed off platform for one fight on Netflix against Jake Paul. There's a reason Conor Benn isn't set to do that.
As for the broadcast partner, it appears to be Sky Sports, according to media expert John Urand through his newsletter by Puck. Zuffa Boxing is on the precipice of a media rights deal with Sky Sports for the UK market. Zuffa has already acquired a core group of varying talent from highly talented American prospect Robert Mayweather III to cruiserweight king Jai Opataya and British bruiser Benn as it rolls out its own Zuffa belt and continues constructing cards in events around the world. It's going to need to conduct business that legitimizes both its company and title, and a Sky Sports deal certainly helps with the former, bolstering its presence significantly in the UK and Europe by providing Zuffa with premium distribution, shoulder programming, and credibility with mainstream fight fans. Sky has aired boxing for decades, from the Benn vs. Eubank era in the 90s through extensive agreements with Matchroom and Hearn in the modern era, and in more recent years, a deal with Boxer. Now Zuffa may be the next in line to get that rub. I look at this, the deal they inked with Paramount, and of course the deal they're about to ink with Sky Sports, the stable of fighters that they have so far, and what other fighters they would need to add to their roster to be competitive with Matchroom, with Queensberry, because just based on this, the recent signings they announced, I don't really think that's enough. You want to keep an eye on GBM.
Were they?
A well-to-do promotional outfit based out of the UK, a small one, that's been doing cards on the DAZN platform, whose deal recently ended and is not renewed. They have a stable of fighters of their own that I expect now to migrate over to Zuffa, pair up with them, and have those fighters fight on Sky Sports. Now that's stable by itself.
The deal with Sky isn't just about having a broadcast partner to show their fights in America in the UK. They want to do fights in the UK. That's why you signed Conor. That's why you're doing Fury's next fight. And that's why I expect them to integrate the GBM stable into their existing Zuffa stable. Keep an eye on Boxer and Ben Shalom also.
Keep an eye on them, because they would love to upend Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren.
Zuffa's making a lot of moves, big ones, but does this guarantee their success? And not only that they will run the existing game in town out of business to thereby dominate the sport.
Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis. $15 million co-main event.
In terms of what the fans want, this is so against what the whole ideal was supposed to be. The best fighting the best, the toughest, no easy fights come in. Not saying it's an easy fight, but like it kind of is. But like there's no, we're going to have head-to-head 50-50 type matchups. You got to earn your spot. There's not a lot of earning going on in this one.
In the meritocracy sense of the word, there isn't. In the dollar sense of the word, there is. Conor Benn stands to make $15 million for a glorified layup.
And whatever they're paying Tyson Fury.
Don't lose sight of what Zuffa Boxing is intended to be on the heels of all these big headlines and big stories, news that's breaking. Don't lose sight of what Zuffa Boxing's role was supposed to be in all of this. They were supposed to be the answer to all of boxing's woes and flaws as an industry and as a sport. Zuffa Boxing was intended to be the answer to the question.
What question?
How do you fix boxing and how do you restore it to its former glory? Is that what Zuffa is doing by staging Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis?
Is that it?
Or are they just another ambitious player, another major player entering into the boxing space, making big promises? Because we've seen that before.
Every few years you get somebody coming into the space saying that they're gonna save boxing.
Of all the players I've seen enter into the boxing space in recent memory, I would say that Zuffa seems to have the best strategy and the best chance of succeeding. But Zuffa succeeding doesn't mean that Matchroom is failing or Queensbury. It doesn't mean that they're gonna run everybody out of town. Not with fights like Radovanje Kalajdzic versus Umar Zambekov.
What?
Kalajdzic versus Zambekov for the inaugural Zuffa light heavyweight title in July, the first of its kind. Nobody in the boxing space, no boxing fan is going to look at the winner of that fight as being a legitimate world champion like Dmitry Bivol is a world champion. David Benavidez is a world champion to a lesser extent. What I'm getting at is there's more work needs doing, a lot more.
I mean a lot.
A significant amount of time will have to pass and a significant amount of fights will have to be staged before the Zuffa belt is accepted as an earmark of any kind by the boxing community. It took years for them to accept the IBF, to accept the WBO, so they're not going to accept this Zuffa belt right away. But you are intended to compete with Frank and compete with Eddie, compete with their stables with your Zuffa belt and your Zuffa fighters. I think about the light heavyweight contest Zuffa's putting on and the one that Matchroom is putting on. Callum Smith versus David Morrell. You tell me which one's better. You tell me which one is going to sell more tickets on the ground and which one is going to draw more eyes to it from the viewers at home.
Which one, huh?
You tell me.
Tell me!
Seeing people saying things like, it's not a war, the war's already over. Zuffa has already won.
Well, did they? Or did you forget what we're all gathered here for in the first place and what they're supposed to be trying to sell us? They're supposed to be trying to sell us boxing.
And they're supposed to be trying to sell us boxing matches. Right now, it would appear that Queensbury and Matchroom have the better matches because they have the better fighters. They already have an established rapport with the audience. Zuffa, in spite of all the major moves they're making, still have a lot of catching up to do. And I'm not counting them out. Things will get interesting. But I don't think the war is over. Far from it. I think it's just starting. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, in the realm of major stories and major undertakings, the good people at Boxing Scene are now asking is about between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford the biggest fight in boxing, it being that Floyd Mayweather recently unretired and is headed into a second fight with his old buddy, Manny Pacquiao. If he wins, is it possible that he goes into a Crawford fight immediately after that, if the price is right?
Well, let's get a few things straight right away. I don't think for a second Floyd Mayweather unretired to take on the likes of a Terence Crawford and any fighter that's that much younger than he is, because even if Crawford has gotten a bit long in the tooth, Floyd's tooth is even longer.
There's been a lot of talk about who would have won this fight, prime for prime, that fantasy scenario, the best Terence Crawford versus the best Floyd Mayweather, but in reality, a prime Floyd Mayweather is somewhere in between, let's say, 130 and 135 pounds.
When he was fast, when he was sharp, when he was knocking people out, when he didn't need silocaine for his hand issues.
Whereas Terence Crawford at 135, where he started, he wasn't in his prime yet. He was a greenhorn. He starts entering his prime towards the tail end of his 140-pound campaign, moving up to 147, where he knocked out every man they put in front of him.
That was a prime Terence Crawford.
So if you're talking about a prime for prime scenario, those two fighters in their prime are removed by weight. Not that it matters, because neither one of them is in their prime now anyway. A Mayweather fight might be the right fight for the right price to bring Terence Crawford out of retirement, since Floyd has unretired. But what about Floyd? You think he unretired to gamble his unbeaten record against a killer like Crawford? How much money would you have to offer Floyd to accept a fight like that? Not that I think he would, because he wouldn't. I get why people are talking about this, because with Floyd Mayweather now being an active boxer again, all sorts of things seem possible. That he's fighting Manny Pacquiao again, where he didn't used to want to give him a rematch. Now he is. But bear in mind, Manny's in the same age group as Floyd. That's nowhere near as risky fighting a guy that you beat years ago as fighting Terence Crawford would be here today, who's still coming off a career-best performance against Canelo Alvarez, and it wasn't even that long ago. Terence hasn't been gone long enough that he now becomes a safe fight for Floyd Mayweather. If they fought now, Terence stops him.
He knocks him out. I don't have a doubt in my mind. Floyd Mayweather is 1 year shy of 50 years old.
The mythos around a fighter makes things hard to conjure, hard to imagine that anyone could take Floyd Mayweather's O away from him. But he's not the Floyd that you saw fighting over a decade ago. Over a decade later, if he actually stepped in the ring with Crawford, Crawford stops him. That's why I don't expect it to happen. Floyd Mayweather was often vilified for being very careful who he fought and when. That he's not going to throw caution to the wind now that he's older, slower, removed from his prime.
If he was careful when he was young, you don't think he's going to be careful now?
Unretiring for Manny Pacquiao so that he can give him a rematch. Is that going to be Floyd's only fight now that he's back? Maybe he makes time to fight a Rolly Romero, a Ryan Garcia, somebody that at even 50 years old, he can probably still beat them.
I would sooner expect him to fight Ryan or Rolly than Terence.
Questions hanging over his head. If he really is unretired and he's going to box professionally again, is he going to box beyond the Pacquiao fight, the Pacquiao score, as he's likely to make a lot of money for that fight? Will he keep fighting after that?
By now, most people have accepted that Floyd is fighting out of necessity as a result of Al Heyman and others stealing a good chunk of his money. He has to fight. The question is, for how long? So I don't get the impression that Floyd is back to the extent that he's going to box for another 3 to 4 fights, 4 to 5 fights. Two at best. The Pacquiao fight and maybe one other. Then he'll go back to the exhibition circuit if he even keeps doing exhibitions.
Because he's only doing this out of necessity, because he's deep in debt and his former business partner stole a large chunk of his money. He's not back to fight the likes of a Terence Crawford. So if the question is the fight between them now possible that Floyd's unretired? I would still say no. It's not possible. It's not going to happen.